Welcome back, watch fans. Today we're talking about Rolex, Audemars Piguet, and Patek Philippe. That's right, Patek Philippe. And I got some bad news for you, my friends. I think Audemars Piguet and Patek Philippe could be in some serious trouble if a certain event happens, which I will be discussing in this video. Now, before we get into it, on the wrist is the Rolex Submariner, the King Tut Submariner. Now, by the way, I get a lot of comments from the tomato cans in the audience saying it's pronounced Submariner, not Submariner. Now, my grandfather is Hans Wilsdorf. Now, in case you don't know who Hans Wilsdorf is, Google it, okay? You guys know how to use that to Google. And my grandfather told me, look, grandson, make sure that the crayon eaters in the tomato cans pronounce it Submariner, not Submariner. That is how the Americans pronounce it, and the Americans know nothing. The Americans are trash. Again, this is all according to the words of my grandfather Hans Wilsdorf. Now, let's talk about Patek Philippe. By the way, before we get further, a lot of you tomato cans have not subscribed to the channel, and I'm very concerned about that. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button right now. Again, do it right now. Do it before even watching any further. And if you don't subscribe right now, stop watching the video and never come back. Okay, now, let's talk about Patek Philippe. Now, I've put out a couple of videos. Actually, not I, the Colonel. The Colonel has put out several videos recently saying that Patek could be in trouble. You know, the new model releases, a lot of these kind of modern look that they're trying to do, I find very disturbing. I mean, the watches are slightly too big. Again, these are dress watches. They're making them a little bit too big. And the designs are, I don't know what they're trying to do. It's, look, if you want to do a modern dress watch, again, I have said this before, Audemars Piguet Coda 1159 is going in the right direction, okay? That's the right direction. And Patek Philippe is starting to attract the riffraff. That's right, Patek Philippe is starting to attract the riffraff. You know what happens when certain brands, when prestige brands attract the wrong sort of clientele? The brands, the brands go downhill. The brands go downhill. You don't want to have the riffraff wearing your brand, okay? Or being ambassadors for your brand, because everybody who wears your brand on their wrist or clothing, whatever, they're basically an ambassador for you. So if you have trashy people, low-life degenerates, the peasantry, the hoi polloi wearing Patek Philippe, it's going to seriously damage the brand. But just so you know, Patek Philippe was not always a prestige brand. You know, when they were starting out, up until actually maybe this is up until probably the 60s, you know, they were kind of a, second, third, they were kind of a, another run-of-the-mill Swiss brand. And I think there was a Danish brand called Jules Jurgensen, if I'm not mistaken, that was really a market leader back in the day. We're talking way back in the pocket watch era. And I think when Patek was trying to sell the watches in America, the ads that they ran basically said, hey, this is better quality, more reliable than the Jules Jurgensen at a third of the price or half the price, something like that, which just goes to show you it was a relatively cheap brand, kind of like Toyota. Okay, like a lot of these Japanese companies, they started out making, I don't know, they didn't start out as prestigious companies, Lexus or whatever. I don't know if Lexus is prestigious, but you know what I'm saying, right? They start off making, I don't know, lawnmowers or something, right? Or knives, who knows what, right? And, they evolved, and, the Japanese have done an amazing job of that, right? They have very long-term outlooks. They have 500-year outlooks. The problem with Patek Philippe is they are starting to attract the hoi polloi, specifically. I've noticed that, how do they say it? The Archieverse? The Archieverse, is that what the kid's called? The people who are in that Archie luxury, the Bogan of Brisbane, people who are in that universe are starting to talk about acquiring Patek Philippe's. That's right. Buying, and actually some of them already own them. But here's the thing. This goes to show you why Patek is going downhill. They are all buying the real garbage models. Like you have one of these guys is some sort of a metrosexual who has some sort of Patek. It's not an annual calendar. It's some sort of What is the watch? It's some weird modern watch. It's kind of one of the. I mean, the dial is horrible. Then he's got another tomato can who's got a Aquanaut, which again is a tomato can watch, right? That's like the basic bitch of the Patek range, and for some reason it's become very hot. And by the way, that is a fad. Trust me on this. Aquanaut is going to be worthless in the next couple of years. It'll be totally worthless. You're going to have to pay people to take an Aquanaut off your hands, okay? Now, what disturbs me further is there is another channel in the Archie universe, and he's got some other tomato can who's talking about buying, or it didn't say buy, but he said interested in, because I don't know if the guy can swing it. I mean, this is a pricey watch. The Colonel's watch, that's right, the 3940G, the top G. The top G. That's the Patek Philippe perpetual calendar. The classic. That is the classic. By the way, the 36 millimeter is the classic size, as worn by my uncle, Philippe Stern. That's right, the Philippe Stern. He has that watch. Actually, he has one in yellow gold, but I chose the white because it's more of a contemporary look, more of a classic. And again, that is the best watch Rolex has ever done. Now, how did I get that watch, you're asking, right? How did I get that watch? Well, I traded in a 5396R. That's right, that's the Patek with the baguette diamonds and the blue dial, the rose gold, the annual calendar, which, by the way, I got at a deep discount. Discount. Repeat after me. Discount. And deep discount. How deep? Very deep, okay? And I just did a direct trade for the 3940G, the top G. Now, one of these tomato cans is talking about, one of the Archie tomato cans is talking about, he's interested in that watch, which would be hard. Now, if this guy purchased that watch, and actually wore it and was seen wearing it, it would totally destroy the value of the Patek brand, right? You can't have the wrong sorts of people wearing these watches. And again, more and more you have that happening. Again, this is happening with Audemars Piguet. Quite frankly, Audemars Piguet was, relatively speaking, the Royal Oak was a relatively classy watch up until the last, let's call it 15 years, okay? Maybe even 10 years, okay? I would say up until the last 10 years, the Royal Oak was a classy watch, not the offshore, right? The offshore was the watch that opened the floodgates to the hoi polloi, and that's been damaging the brand. Right now, they're doing Spider-Man watches. I mean, you see what happens, right? Once you make a Spider-Man watch, or I'm saying, once you make a Royal Oak, things go downhill. Now, by the way, just so you know, look, how long have I been in the Patek brand? I've been wearing Pateks since I'm a wee lad. When did I get my first one? In the 90s. I think I was 26, if I'm not mistaken. And that was actually my first real watch. My first real watch purchase was a package deal, bought used from a one of these grifter type of guys, actually from Philadelphia. How come all the watch people are in Philadelphia? Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, this guy, I bought from him an Oyster, the Date Just. It was a white dial with the Roman numerals, and the Patek Calatrava with a hobnail. I forget what's the model. It's the one that Jack Welch, the CEO of GE, famously wore on the cover of his book. You guys probably don't know Jack Welch because a lot of you guys are tomato cans, but Jack Welch was the man. He ran GE when it was the real deal, right? And I figured, hey, if it's good enough for Jack Welch, it's good enough for me. Now that package, those two watches I paid, I remember to this day, $6,200, maybe $6,000 or $6,200. I don't remember. One of those two. But let's just call it $6,200. And needless to say, I sold them off for substantially more money later on, and I've been a Patek, the Patek man ever since. Now, here's the thing. there are certain qualifications. The real Patek watch is the dress watch. It's a proper dress watch, 36, maybe 38 millimeter in size, possibly, but if in the right dimensions. Now, the recent models have been all wrong. The Nautilus and Aquanaut, they really don't count. And again, I've said this before, the Nautilus is a model that basically should have been discontinued in the 90s. It's a kind of a kitschy design. The Royal Oak is a much more classic design, again, from Gerald Genta. I would not recommend the Nautilus today unless you're buying something vintage, pre millennium era. Even 80s really is the cutoff point, I believe. Now, what's going to happen is this: if these riffraff and the hoi polloi start getting into this market, start buying Patek Philippe's, it's going to drag the value down, because then Patek Philippe is going to be associated with the peasant classes, okay, and that's what's going to happen. And they're very, very, very close to that happening. So, what's his name? Thierry Stern. Thierry, if you're watching this, I've been telling you about this for a while. I'm giving you my honest advice. You got to stop making these tomato can watches. You're not cool. You're not hip. You got to do classical stuff. Okay. You really, the stuff you're doing now with some of these designs is disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself, Thierry. All right. By the way, there we go. We got the. Okay, the car is unmolested by peasants. Unmolested by peasants. Let's see if we get this. Okay, there we go. Unmolested by the peasant classes. And some of you are wondering, does this car go off-road? Yes, it does. I have, in fact, taken it off-road on multiple occasions. And, here's the thing. The other thing. Hold on, listen to this sound. Unbelievable, but true. By the way, no sticky buttons. See, no sticky buttons. Archie, are you watching this? There's no sticky buttons here. Everything is minty. See the gleam off this burled walnut? Do you have that in your BMW, your 3 Series, your leased 3 Series, Archie? Unbelievable, but true. Let me get the air on a little bit. We're going to get the air on it, and then we'll wrap up this video. Here's the other thing. You gotta stop taking advice from the tomato cans. You got these grifters like Archie Luxury who thinks he knows everything. I mean, again, these followers, they're all buying the wrong watches, all right? And actually, I don't want them to buy any Pateks. I want the Archie people to stay in their lane. Stay with your Rolex Submariner. Stay with your dates. Okay. Stay with your peasant watches. Again, this is a watch I'm wearing because I'm here in the on the ocean here, and it's waterproof, unbelievable but true. And that is the point of it. Let me make sure we got. There we go. Now, yeah. So if you listen to these tomato cans like Archie, you make all the wrong decisions. Now, imagine this, right? What would you rather have? Would you rather drive a BMW 3 Series leased, or for the same amount of money, you could be driving a magnificent supercar? That's right, a supercar that can go up to 200 miles an hour. As you can see on the speedometer, 200 is the maximum, and yeah, it can go to 200. How fast is this car driven? Well, I can tell you this much, my friends. I a while back, I'm a regular at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance in Pebble Beach, of course, and for free, by the way. That's right. They do not charge me. Why? Well, when you're a VIP, you don't pay. But yeah. Anywho. Recently I was on my way up there, and I was driving up. Of course, you have to go up the PCH. The Pacific Coast Highway along the cliffs of California, the edge of America, and who goes to this place, right? Who goes there? Well, you got all these, you got a lot of riffraff, actually. A lot of these wannabes, these Porsche people, which are the worst. The Porsche people are the absolute scum of the earth. The BMW driver is the absolute bottom. Porsche is slightly above that. These guys, they all think that, these boy racers, right? They're all trying to like go up this. But it's an amazing drive. I highly suggest you drive up the PCH or down the PCH, actually. And there was a Bugatti. That's right, a Bugatti was kind of pulled up alongside me, and shall we say, it was a little bit above the legal speed limit. I will not say by how much, but let's just say, it was spirited, shall we say, right? And this car had no problem keeping up with the Bugatti. Now, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a $2 million car, which I think is the Bugatti, or $1 million, I don't know, whatever it is, something like that, or would you pay, let's call it 30 grand? I mean, what how much did I pay? I remember my payments, because I had payments on this for a while. I took a loan on it, and my payments were like $650 a month, I believe. Of course, the interest rates were a little bit lower a couple years back. Yes, I was paying like $650 a month, I believe, and then I paid it off because I don't like to. Listen, look, aristocrats don't like to be borrowers. But yeah, so look, it's all about making smart financial decisions. Never pay retail. I've only bought one watch at retail in my life, and it was actually a mistake, which I'll probably take a small loss on it, but it was just something I had to do. So, but yeah, look, my philosophy is when you're buying something. You need to make sure that you're getting value. You have something which is not going to depreciate. Ideally, you want something that's going to appreciate, right? I don't like to put big money into things that lose money, right? I want things that are going to at least hold their value or increase. Now, I believe Patek Philippe, again, is in that danger. Audemars Piguet, they have such beautiful watches that they're doing. The problem is this. Here's my advice for the Audemars Piguet people, so that you do not, look, you don't want to be associated with the trash. There's a lot of trashy people that have bought the basic bitch, three-hander models, which is fine, right? Look, the only way to separate yourself from the grifters, I shouldn't say grifters, but from the low-life peasanthood, you gotta have vintage with complications. Now the Colonel, as you know, has the owl. That's the date moon phase in two-tone, which is the. By the way, some of you have been saying two-tone. Oh, that tacky. That's kind of tacky, right? Well, if you're a subscriber to our free email newsletter, you saw we had a picture of who? A legitimate aristocrat, a real aristocrat, not a guy who pays $4.95 a month to be an aristocrat, or a legitimate aristocrat. Prince Michael of Kent. Now, this guy actually is a very stylish guy. If you get our free email newsletter, which, by the way, I highly suggest you subscribe to, you see it. What is he wearing? He's wearing a 36 millimeter Audemars Piguet in two-tone. Why? Because that's the classic look you want. You want a two-tone. You want something that's a little bit louche, L-O-U-C-H-E. Look up that word, my friends. That's right. Look it up. So a lot of you need to learn how to get style. So I'm helping you out here. I'm doing the Lord's work, helping lift the peasants into the aristocracy. By the way, make sure you make sure you get our free email newsletter. Click the link in the video description below to get our free email newsletter. I can't believe we're still giving this away free. At some point, we're going to increase the value. Excuse me, the value, obviously, but we're going to increase the price. We're going to increase the price to, we're going to start charging money. Right now it's free, so again, last chance, you gotta subscribe now. But again, if you're going to buy Audemars Piguet, you don't want to be like one of these peasants, who had to kiss ass in the last few years, at some AD and deal with bullshit, and all they had was a basic bitch 3-hander watch. No, you want a two-tone, and you want either a perpetual calendar, a date moon phase, or if you want to be, you want something new, okay? Again, either a perpetual calendar or it's got to be a tourbillon. That's right, the tourbillon is amazing. Otherwise, you're just a wannabe. You're a poseur. You see, there's a lot of poseurs who are, they shouldn't be wearing those watches. They're probably making payments on those watches, right? They're probably making credit card payments, or they're taking out money from their 401k or something to fund those purchases, right? Look, when you're a real aristocrat, you don't do that. You buy things that last, right? Like this car is 18 years old, 2006. It can go to 200 miles an hour, okay? Definitely far north of 100. How do I know? Trust me, I know. Far north of 100. And it handles amazing. Why? Because it's got all-wheel drive. Where else can you get an all-wheel drive car, 12 cylinders, for such an amazing price? And so that's my philosophy. Why am I talking about this? I'm not trying to flex. No, I'm not trying to flex the car. I'm just trying to tell you my philosophy of value. I look at watches the same way. I want things that are going to be classic for a long time. I don't want things that are fashionable today, here today, gone tomorrow. I want things that you amortize that cost over, or the investment over a period of time, right? You want to amortize it. So if you're buying a watch, you want something that's going to look amazing 20 years from now, not like a tomato can watch. A lot of these watches that Patek is making, they're not going to look good. A lot of these modern watches, they're going to look very dated. I got one word for you: Neptune. Patek Philippe Neptune. Okay, that's all you got to know. Patek Philippe Neptune. Look, Patek is highly capable of making garbage watches. They've made many garbage watches. It's actually their trademark. For every good classic watch, they make like 5 shitters. I mean, unbelievable but true. And you don't want to be a victim of that. They got their big super factory, their gigafactory right now, which is going to be cranking out Nautilus and Aquanautai by the millions. Okay, they've made more Aquanauts and Nautilus in the last. By the way, the Aquanaut is their cash cow. Okay, it's a cash cow. That's what they're using to pay the bills, and they cost them like $500 to make that watch. They sell to you guys for 50 grand, and they're laughing. They're laughing all the way to the bank. So my advice is stick with neo vintage right now, especially in this market. A lot of these kind of flashy watches are going to be absolutely worthless in just a short period of time. You want to stick with things that are classics, okay? By the way, my issue with the Submariner is, frankly, this watch is a victim of its own success. I don't like to wear this watch in polite company, very frankly. I was hiking earlier, so I can get away with it, but I would never wear this watch in polite company because there's too many peasants who wear this watch. I don't want to be considered, as part of the peasant class. I mean, literally, you hop on a flight to Miami or back from Miami, you're going to see at least 2 tomato cans on the plane wearing this watch. Now, look, sadly, yes, I admit I do fly commercial. Because look, when you're an aristocrat, it's not about being flashy, okay? It's not about being flashy. It's about being smart with your money. It's not about, calling Steve from the jet business and, doing a video in his showroom. No, it's about, being smart. So be smart. Don't be a tomato can. Don't buy modern Patek. The cutoff date is 2005. Do not buy any Patek past 2005. It's pure à la poubelle, à la poubelle, as they say in Stade, as the Stade guy himself would say. À la poubelle is what the Aquanaut is. Now, by the way, he also has, the Stade guy wears a modern Royal Oak, a 3-hander. And you know what? that is the dead giveaway that he's not a true aristocrat. Because if he was, he'd have a two-tone 80s or 90s watch. He would have a jumbo two-tone from maybe the late 70s that was given to him by his father or grandfather. Yes, but now we know that he's a mere peasant. That's right. Stad guy on TikTok is a peasant because he has a modern Audemars Piguet. That's right. It is à la poubelle. Okay, guys, let me know what you think. Leave your nasty, vicious comments. And by the way, if you want a free review of your collection, send your email to brutalwatchreviews@gmail.com. brutalwatchreviews@gmail.com.